Today on VolleyDons Weekly, we'll visit with head coach Ryan Perrotte. We'll visit with Jaysen Zaleski in the Spotlight segment, and we'll also talk about our 3 matches last week. Our 3-0 loss to Ball State, our 3-2 win against Grand Canyon, and our 3-0 loss to Grand Canyon. Later on, we'll also talk about our upcoming matches against Ohio State and McHenry this weekend. Stay tuned to VolleyDons Weekly. Welcome back to CTV's VolleyDons Weekly. We're here with our sponsors, and thanks to our sponsors, Elko, Active Ankle, ASICS, Glenbrook Dodge, and Hyatt Place. Coach Perrotte, we had a great week last week winning our first conference match of the year against Grand Canyon University on Friday. Unfortunately, it came sandwiched between 2 losses to Grand Canyon and Ball State.
So does that make it a great week when you win 1 out of 3 matches?
You know, we just need some wins. I think we need to get on the winning train with some of our young guys to just win some conference matches. I think, a 5-set, battle is good to see our guys come out on top and win that match.
Does it make it a great week that I've lost my voice in coaching 3 matches in a week?
In video, it was kind of embarrassing when you had such a hoarse voice when you're trying to talk to people about how poorly they played, and you're.
Does it make it a great week when I don't have more than 4 hours of sleep because of volleyball? No throat, no sleep, 2 losses.
That ladybug apparently is a good sign. You were just talking about the ladybug you saw in here, so that's a good sign.
I got bit by a ladybug. I got bit before we came on the air. I got bit by a ladybug in my neck.
You got bit. I don't think ladybugs bite people, Rock.
Really? But maybe it's good luck. Ladybugs are supposed to be good luck, so maybe that'll bring good luck.
In what culture? Or what culture are they good luck?
In the Caribbean and Canadian culture.
They're good luck in the Caribbean and Canadian culture, huh? We'll talk about the Ball State match first. Okay. How do you think it went?
Oh, well, it didn't go very well because we lost 2-0.
Well, a little bit more in depth about our players. Alex Hallhauer came back for his first conference match.
Well, Alex was one of the few bright spots. His numbers were very, very good for us offensively. He hit 346.
Yeah.
He played very, very, served well.
Yeah.
Had some monster blocks.
I think he served well all week. I think that was a bright spot for our volleyball team from our service pressure standpoint. I thought he served the ball well all week.
Well, we had been easing him back into the starting rotation, having him play a couple sets here and there, and a couple lead-up matches towards Ball State, especially in Puerto Rico where he played. And he had played pretty well. And the tough thing about playing Ball State is for the fact that they don't make errors. They're a conservative serving team. They keep the ball in play. Their block is solid, their defense is solid, and you have to make sure that when you have the ball, you capitalize. We did not do that early, even though in the opening set we had our chances. So it was disappointing in the fact that we knew what was coming and still couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
And that's the tough thing about playing Ball State.
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about after the match and with our team during the week, especially after that Ball State match. The amount of errors we made in that match were pretty astronomical for a 4-set match. I think we said 53.
53.
That's both service errors from the baseline, attacking errors, blocking errors, and ball handling errors. Was that the 4 categories? And receiving errors, excuse me. So all in all, we gave them, off our own mistakes, 53 points. And it's just tough to win a match giving away 2 full sets of volleyball through our own errors.
Yeah, I've always hated that terminology in volleyball. When you give away, for example, you play 25 points, we had 50, so it's 2 sets of volleyball. But then you got to count their errors in and how it works. God only knows. But when you make so many errors, or at least when your team makes more errors than your opponent, you're destined to lose.
Yeah.
And with Ball State, you can't do that. And I think that one of the bright sides is the fact that Alex played well, having not seen significant playing time since January. I think that was very, very important. I think our serving is getting better, especially in regards to the location.
I
think Andy Sellen starting to tee off a little bit. He and I talked a lot about his serving in regards to all servers need to be like baseball pitchers. And the entire court is like a strike zone. And you got to be able to throw the fastball, which he wants to do all the time.
Yeah.
The changeup, which he's worked on a little bit. But I told him, you need to learn to start throwing the hook, the curve, or the slider. And we talked a lot about that. Alex has that from the
Yeah.
baseline. He's very good at that. And actually, Jaysen Zaleski has a wonderful, he's like a knuckleball pitcher. He's like the Charlie Huff or Phil Necro. Or the
I don't even know those names. So you're going way back. There you go. R.A. Dickey. There you go. That's what I know.
With the float serve. So I think the serving is coming along. Still just too many errors that we can't build the momentum consistently.
Yeah, and I think you talked about Jaysen's serve. What Jaysen does really well with his float serve is he places it really well, and it doesn't necessarily have a whole ton of pace on it or serve anybody off the floor, but he puts a great spot on it. He was putting it up the line a lot in the first match against Grand Canyon, which was giving them fits, really, having to pass balls outside their body towards the line and not being able to bring it back towards the setter in the middle of the floor. So I think, float servers and spin servers, like you said, sometimes it's not as much about the pace on the ball, but the location in which you serve.
Well, volleyball is not a style sport. You don't get points for style. I've argued this for years. And that's why Ball State wins. Because they're not in the style. They're in the junk, tip, roll, off speed. They keep you off balanced.
Yeah.
And it's unorthodox because a lot of players playing the game just want to be a blaster all the time.
Yeah.
And all facets of the game.
Well, talking about the junk and the tips and the rolls that Ball State brings, I thought Grand Canyon did kind of the same things this weekend against us both nights on Friday and Saturday, and it gave us fits in the first two sets on Friday. We were able to kind of make some adjustments in the little halftime talk and pick it up a little bit better as the match went on, that match. But then again on Saturday, they started out doing it and they scored some points as well in our 3-2 or 3-0 loss that time. Just talk about Grand Canyon and what they did against us both nights.
The worst part about technology in sports is that now there's no secrets because everybody gets scouting video. Yeah. And Grand Canyon, all Grand Canyon did in the first two sets, and why they stopped, I really will never know.
Yeah.
Is tipping off speed the ball.
I agree, and they did stop going into
the stopped in the
third,
third
fourth,
set.
and fifth.
And what happens is complacency sets in, and we go, well, we're up 2-0. Let's just go ahead and blast away. Well, that ended up being their Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And we did make some adjustments. I thought we played close in the opening set. Actually, we should have won the first set.
Yeah.
I thought we served well. Our block was atrocious. Our backcourt defense behind our block was atrocious. But our side-out game was actually pretty steady and got better as we went along. But in the third set, they stopped tipping and rolling the ball. We kept it close, snuck out a 27-25 set.
Yeah.
In the fourth set, we gained confidence because of it, and off to the races we went.
Really quick, just mention a couple of good things we did in that 3-2 win. We only got like 30 seconds left.
Andy Sullen played very, very well for us on the right side. At least I thought so. I thought our setting as the match went along, and I did make a change from Gabriel Quinones to Michael Keegan. I thought our setting and our distribution got so much better. I thought the tempo of our offense got better. I thought our passing overall, because we always talk about the serve and pass battle, two most important things, that got better as the match went along. And our production from Jaysen Zaleski was really good.
Yeah, speaking of Jaysen Zaleski, he's our guest in the next segment, in the Spotlight segment.
That's called a lead-in, by the way.
So when we come back, we'll visit with Jaysen Zaleski for a little bit. Thanks, Coach, and we'll see you soon.
Perfect.
Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne, a crossroads of creativity, a campus where streams of thought and knowledge converge, creative minds working together, sharing ideas, expanding human knowledge, and shaping the future. We forge partnerships that inspire our community and strengthen our region. Our scholars, students, and researchers create work that resonates around the world. This is today's IPFW. This is the Don Difference.
Welcome back to the VolleyDons Weekly on CTV. We're here with middle blocker Jaysen Zaleski, who's a freshman from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And Jaysen, you got your first action in the MIVA this week. How did it feel?
It was a really exciting opportunity. You kind of work for that every day in practice, and since I came here in the fall, I always wanted to play, and that's every player's goal. And it was just really exciting to be able to be part of that game atmosphere. It's completely different than practice, obviously. And it was a ton of fun being able to play in front of the crowd and in front of my family and with all my teammates on the floor.
Yeah, how fun is that for your parents to be here for your first, big-time conference, action this week?
Yeah, they actually end up coming to a lot of our home games. I think they've been to almost every one, but it was really exciting to be able to play for them finally and be able to come out with a win as well, not just play.
Yeah.
A big 5-set win coming in third set down 2-0, kind of a lot of pressure to step in and make a difference, and that's what you want to do off the bench, and that's what you're put in for to make a big difference. And I think I did that, and other players like Austin Neese as well, and I think someone else came off the bench.
Michael
Keegan.
did. Michael came off the bench as well that match.
I think we had a positive impact on that game and came out with the 5-set win.
Talk about what it's like being a freshman, in this conference and kind of taking, the next step of your, playing career, coming from club volleyball, 18s volleyball, and you played. Did you play open at nationals again this year?
Not last year, but the
you
year
had played
before
open.
that,
So
yeah.
the highest level of club volleyball up into the highest level of college volleyball in the MIVA.
Yeah, it's a big transition. I think everyone's obviously a lot bigger in the NCAA, and the game's a lot faster. There's a lot of things you have to learn when it comes to blocking and being quick up in transition and always being on time in the middle. That also comes from the club you came from. I think some people know more than others coming into college, but I think blocking was probably the biggest difference for me. You just have to be extra fast, and especially I'm a little undersized, so I have to be even quicker. So that's something I've been trying to focus on in practice, and just being as fast as I can and focusing on all the little technique things that I can work on.
I'd like to have you talk about a little bit. You talked about the size and how maybe you're a little bit undersized. How do you make up for that lack of height, especially when this weekend we had you matched up against Ashton King, who's probably 6'9", 6'10"? So it was a really tough matchup for you, I think. And while maybe we didn't stop him completely, I thought we contained him more as the match went on. Talk about how you were able to do that in both Friday's match and actually on Saturday's match. He didn't do well at all, and I think you were matched up with him again on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So talk about how, as an undersized blocker, you can kind of do some things differently to both score points offensively and try to neutralize the opposing attacker.
Offensively, you kind of have to work on shot making a lot as a smaller hitter. You have to hit around the block. That's what shot making means, if you didn't know. So whether you go cut back or wrist away, you just have to work those shots and maybe throw in a couple of tips to throw the defense off a little bit. But if you hit straight into the block, even if you're jumping really high, a lot of times you're going to get blocked, and especially as an undersized middle, you're not hitting over a lot of blocks unless you're very early or the opposing middle doesn't expect you to get set at all. And then on defense, you just have to make really good setter reads. Sometimes you kind of have to guess, honestly. A lot of solo blocks in the middle, whether it be when you're committing or reading, your commit blocks are usually kind of you really think the middle is going to get set, so you go up and try and block the ball, and that's what happened. I had one commit block against Grand Canyon on Saturday, and those are the most exciting kind of blocks because you're kind of taking a gamble and really going all or nothing there. Because if the opposing setter doesn't set their middle and they set a pin, then your guy's going to be one-on-one against their hitter, and they're likely going to get a kill there. So it's kind of an all or nothing gamble.
Talk about winning a conference match for the first time this year as a freshman, having gone through a couple of matches like McKendree where we got the 5 sets off a really good 4th set, and then, we ended up losing it in 5. I think we've played some really good matches this year. We just haven't been able to, win those big points that we needed. In the 3 sets we won on Friday against Grand Canyon, they were all 2 points. Talk about how that feels for, the first one for you guys as a class.
Yeah, it seems that every single set that we lose, we're always within, a couple points, whether it be less than 5. We're always right there at the end of sets, and we couldn't close for a really long time until this weekend. And it just feels really good that after all those really upsetting defeats, because they're always really close, and those are the ones that are the toughest to swallow. After so many of those, it felt really good to get that win, especially because we were on the other side of it. We were just winning by a few points, and to get over that hump, I think gave us a lot of confidence, especially the freshmen as well, because we hadn't experienced a conference win yet.
Another question I have you kind of going around that, freshman, first win, that class kind of thing. We had 4 freshmen on the floor for those 3 sets that we won against Grand Canyon. Was that a difficult dynamic to kind of work with, because maybe we're not sure who the leader is in that group, maybe we're not sure what we need to do to win with this group, but I thought all four of you guys combined with Andy and Luis and Tony pretty well to really round up a lineup that worked hard for each other. We talk all the time about playing hard for ourselves and not being individual players, and playing as a team and playing together. Do you think that was something that kind of was helped by you guys all kind of being freshmen and living together and all learning together a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. There's 9 of us freshmen, 8 or 9. There's 9 of us, I think. But,
8 true freshmen, I think, and then
Colton,
who's a redshirt.
Yeah, okay. We all have a really good chemistry with each other, and I think that on and off the court, we all blend pretty well. We don't really fight with each other or anything like that. So I think that helps whenever a lot of us, even with the inexperience, we're all comfortable with each other on the court. And with the leadership aspect, I think you kind of just have to trust that your other teammates are going to do their job, and out of that a leader will arise. And if each person does their job, then you're kind of your own team's leader, I guess.
Everybody doing what they can do to push the team forward, basically.
For the common goal. Yeah. Exactly.
Let's talk about academics a little bit, okay? I know you're one of 2 people now that we've had who've kind of gotten we used to call it a Chapman Scholar, but now there's different ones. The one that you have is called the Weitzman Scholar, I believe.
Weitzman Scholar. It's brand new this year.
So talk a little bit about how you balance athletics and academics, but also how you balance the Weitzman Scholar role, and a little bit about what that is, and how you balance that with volleyball and your academic responsibilities to the institution, as well as just getting good grades.
Yeah, it's kind of cliche, but it's a lot of time management. You have to kind of make your own sacrifices on the weekdays and on the weekends. You can't always go out and hang with your buddies at the volley house instead of studying. So you really have to buckle down on your academics. And with that scholarship, the Weitzman Scholarship, I need to maintain a 3.5 GPA, so I really have to buckle down on academics. And being an engineer, it's even tougher to maintain that. So I really have no room to kind of slack off or do what I would really rather do and hang out with my friends than schoolwork. But it's kind of the sacrifices you have to make. And a lot of the time, I'm really tired from practice and working hard in school, so I try to go to bed at a reasonable time. And that's another thing I think is important, getting to bed early and also eating well so you can maintain the physical ability in practice.
Since the Weitzman's a new scholarship, and I mentioned it kind of has the same thing to do with the Chapman, can you just talk a little bit about your responsibilities as a Weitzman Scholar, besides just going to school, obviously?
As a Weitzman Scholar, we do a lot of things that the Chapman Scholars do. There's a lot of volunteer work that's involved with that. We volunteer at the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo, as well as the Fort for Fitness event that's annual. We also do a lot of things are optional for us, but there's a certain number of things that you have to attend per year, a certain number of optional events, and those optional events include lunch and learns, which are like a leader from around the area in Fort Wayne comes to have lunch with a group of scholars, whoever wants to go to that lunch and learn. Kevin is actually going to be there.
Kevin Villela?
Yeah, Kevin Villela.
Kevin Villela was a Chapman Scholar for our team who graduated in 2014 and is now working at Google. So
yeah,
really cool for him to come back for us.
He's going to be on a live video lunch and learn next week that I'll be at. But what happens there is basically a leader from Fort Wayne or someone from the school like Kevin comes and talks about what they do and to educate us scholars. And then also there's omnibus lectures, which I saw you at the first one.
Yeah, I went to the first one.
And those are another, an influential person comes in and talks about what they do. I know Eric Olson, who is an admiral, I think. He came in for the first one, and that was really interesting. It was about what he did with his military career, and that was very interesting.
Well, thanks, Jaysen, for everything you have to say, and give everybody the chance to learn more about you and about the VolleyDons, and thank you for coming by, Jaysen.
No problem.
Next up on CTV and VolleyDons Weekly, we'll finish up by talking about our matches against Ohio State and McKendree.
My areas of research focus on the intersection of epistemology and medical ethics. I'm primarily interested in clinical decision making. One way to characterize my work is that I'm curious how decisions go wrong in medicine, both for the physician and for the patient, and even for the policymaker. Then I also do some work in research ethics. How does one respect a patient or research subject while still trying to find robust conclusions that can guide future medical practice?
Welcome back to the VolleyDons Weekly here on CTV. We're going to give a quick thank you to the rest of our sponsors: IAV, Indiana Physical Therapy, Molten, ONE, and Pizza Hut. Coach Perrotte, what do you have to say about Jaysen Zaleski, one of our great academic players on this volleyball team and just a pretty good guy, I think?
Well, Jaysen is pretty amazing. By the way, he's diehard. He's a diehard Pittsburgh fan.
Diehard like Pittsburgh.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Steelers,
Pittsburgh
and
Steelers,
Pirates,
and Pittsburgh Pirates, and Pittsburgh Penguins, and oh my goodness gracious, that guy's.
Is he a hockey fan? I don't think there's very many hockey fans on this team besides yourself.
Lot of. He's a Pittsburgh fan through and through. Jaysen is a great guy. He's a great worker. Never complains. Goes about his business like a typical middle does. He's highly intelligent, obviously, with his unbelievable academic scholarship award. He's got a wonderful family, great family support, great friends support.
And it's
He's
good
a
to
great
see,
addition to our team.
It's good to see his parents here as much as they are. Being from Pittsburgh, it's 5-6 hours away.
5 hours.
They're here almost every home weekend. I see them here, and actually last weekend their son was with them. Jaysen's younger brother was with them, which was even cooler that they were here for that weekend, that he got the chance to play against Grand Canyon twice.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that or consider that when I made the move at the time to put him in. I just thought we needed a change in our lineup, and that was one of the spots, and I gave Jaysen the opportunity, and he goes 3-0-5 and hits 600. So
yeah, I thought he did very, very well to kind of solidify that position for us having to make that change. He came in and did a pretty good job, I thought, all weekend. To his credit, having only played really a couple of times against some lesser competition, came in against a very good Grand Canyon team and did a pretty good job, even giving up probably 5 inches to Ashton King most of the time.
Well, we're always going to be undersized against middles, that's for sure, across our conference, and he makes up for it because he's cerebral. Yeah,
and I agree. That's the way, like we talked about with him, that's the way he can kind of make up a little bit for his lack of size. So preview the weekend for us. We have McKendree on Friday and Ohio State, our senior night, on Saturday. So actually just go ahead and talk about the seniors first, and then we'll preview the matches.
Well, we have 5 seniors this year. Andy Sellen, Luis Bertrand, Tyler Goldstein, David Frazee, and Nick Smalter. Even though Andy Sellen went through it last year, he's going to go through it again this year. It's an unbelievable senior class because Luis Bertrand is now our all-time digs leader. He's had a wonderful career as the libero here. Probably the best libero, maybe, in IPFW history. Andy Sellen, tremendous
statistically
athlete. Statistically,
for
yes.
sure.
Andy Sellen, a tremendous volleyball player. He's kind of revolutionized the right side position for us because in terms of what we're looking for for the future, athletic, cannon of an arm, another smart kid. He's going to become a doctor one day. David Frazee, this is his most significant playing time he's seen in college. Quick off the floor, athletic. He's overcome a lot of obstacles in his life to get to where he is. He's a great story. Nick Smalter has done the same thing. He's overcome a lot. Nick, currently with injury, hopefully may come back next year for one more go around, but he's been a significant contributor his playing career here. And then there's Tyler Goldstein, who was the jack of all trades. I mean, there's nothing that Tyler couldn't do. And it's great to have all 5 of those seniors being recognized Saturday before we play Ohio State.
Yeah, I think it's, this senior class has done a lot for our program. Maybe, in the last couple of years, their freshman, sophomore, and junior years, we had some pretty successful years. We hosted their sophomore and their junior years. We hosted playoff matches here at Gates. And definitely a bunch of those guys had a lot to do with it because of the significant amount of playing time that they've had. Andy Sellen, Luis Bertrand, Nick Smalter's had some significant playing time in his 4 years here so far. So they've done a lot for our program, and certainly they'll be missed as a group going forward. So let's preview Ohio State, who's number 1 in the nation, and McKendree, who's pushing some rankings and have beaten some good teams in the conference this year.
Well, Ohio State's number 1. They recently beat the #1 team in the country, Long Beach State. They recently beat UC Irvine. They're playing very, very well. I think they got the best player in the conference, Nicolas Sergi from France. I think he's very, very good. Miles Johnson is another talented player on their team. Here's the MO for Ohio State. They're a great serving team. They win the serve and pass battle all the time. Now, they have a big matchup on Friday night against Ball State because that's for first place in our conference. Both of them are 9-1. So it'll be a good matchup Friday and Saturday when they come here to play us. McHenry is the match that I truly care about because I think Ohio State will take care of themselves because of emotion and senior night, et cetera. But McHenry is a team that we played earlier this season and lost to them in 5 after being down 2-1. And we had this miraculous comeback in the 4th set when we were down 24-19, I believe.
It was 19, yeah.
And
came back to win that set.
Max Hansen comes in as a serving sub and rallies off like 6 points in a row. We end up winning the 4 sets. So that's the only match that I care about. They're athletic, they're tall, they have cannons for arms. But the one thing that I respect more so with McHenry is that they're very competitive and they're hungry. Yeah. They're young and they're hungry. This is their 3rd season in our conference, and they have really stepped it up. I think they have 4 conference wins this year.
I believe so, yeah.
Last year they had 1, but I like the way that they compete and their hunger to play, and it's going to be a very, very emotional match for us on Friday night because it's so big for us in the standings if we can win that match Friday where it could propel us down the road.
Well, we want to say thank you to, of course, all of our sponsors that we've mentioned here in this episode. Thank you to Jaysen Zaleski, the freshman middle from Pittsburgh, for sharing some time with us and talking a little bit about his freshman year. And of course, thanks to our head coach, Ryan Perrotte, for hosting us here, Ryan Rock Perrotte, for hosting us here with this event and VolleyDons Weekly. We appreciate everything you do for us so far here.
Really?
And we
You're
expect.
too kind. I'm going to have you back as a host. This is pretty good.
We hope to see you guys out at Gates this weekend and Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. on Arnie Ball Court. And of course, as Mark Franke used to always sign out with, get your serves in.